Here's the next job coming up on the Mazak that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to go into more detail on the setup and everything of this in another video. This video is just predominantly boring the jaws and preparing them for the first operation. So the blank right now looks like this. I'll turn the part off. And in this area over here is all filled with bronze, because this has a bronze overlay on this part, on this end of it, on this boss on the end of the part here. So we had to put that on there first before we do the rest of the machine work. And I put this little counterbore in here so that I can line up on the part so I don't lose my orientation to this overlay, because I'm going to start on this end first of the part, because this OD is my data May and I want to do that first. But before we do that, this is going to be hanging pretty good ways out of the chuck jaws here, you can see. So we're probably going to skim this OD and get my steady rest on it, and then do all of this ID work up in here and these holes on the end of the part. And then we're going to make this plug that gets supported by the tailstock, and then we can turn all these OD features up here. And probably, I'm not sure if I haven't decided whether I'm going to rough in some of this yet or not in this operation. So that's the operation, but this, like I said, this video is going to be for the most part about boring these chuck jaws and preparing them. And I cut away this area here in between the jaws so I can get my dial indicator on there and indicate the part, as well as for another reason that I explain in the video, later in the video. And I also show a clip of the relationship between how the tailstock and the steady rest are going to be all the way up at the extreme of their travel towards the chuck, and that's another reason for this plug, is so I can actually get the center on the part, because I'm really at the extreme travel of the tail center up here, and it might not reach. So that's also another reason for the end plug, as well as to be able to machine these J slots and everything on the part. Let me turn that weld prep here after I do the ID work first. So like I said, this video is just going to be about boring these jaws and getting ready and kind of getting an eye on where the steady rest and tailstock are going to land in order to do this part. The diameter a little bit smaller, so I cut some off these pins. Let me take one of the pins out. Now with a 4-jaw chuck, it isn't quite as critical that you get the bore exactly right on, because you're going to adjust the jaws. Let's see if I can do this. You're gonna adjust the jaws in all directions, so it's not so critical. This is just a piece of pipe, heavy wall pipe, that I cut 1 inch off the end of it, 1 inch long, and I needed to, like I say, reduce this diameter a little bit. So I machined each one of these pins that go in the jaws down a little bit so that I can reduce the diameter. So this is one way to bore chuck jaws that we use quite a bit. Just stick pins in the holes, a nice sort of close fitting pin in the hole. These happen to be 1.25" holes on these chuck jaws. So this is some 1.25" steel rod, some sort. I don't know, it was just a drop off the saw here. So I needed a 4-inch diameter here to grab my raw stock to start this job that I'm doing. And I also milled these slots in here because I need to indicate something on the part between the jaws, and so I need kind of a gap here. Also, in a 4-jaw chuck, if the jaws wrap too far around the part, it's harder to indicate it in, actually, because you can't push it sideways very easy because the jaws wrap too far around the part. So this actually makes it easier to indicate the part. But when boring jaws, it's important to get this puts the force out on the ends of the jaws, so when you clamp them together, this is true of a 4-jaw or 3-jaw chuck or whatever, and you put all of the clamping force out here towards the end of the jaw, and it springs the jaws back so that it more simulates the when the part's clamped in there and all the play in the jaws is taken out. Otherwise you'll actually if you just bored the jaws free here, if you could do that, you would only be clamping on the very back end of the jaws here, and the front would be open because of the play in the master jaws, and the way the jaws bolt onto the master jaws sometimes can come into play as well. With the I've seen this on serrated chuck jaws like Kitagawa chucks and those kind, where it actually pulls the jaw away from the master jaw back here, particularly on tall jaws like this. These jaws are 4 3/4 inch tall, so it's even more exaggerated, of course, with taller jaws.